Before anything else, drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because what's happening right now behind the scenes with the Golden State Warriors isn't normal. It's not an exaggeration, and it's definitely not just social media chatter. This is the kind of moment that changes the roster, changes the direction, and defines what this franchise is going to be for the next few years. If you're truly part of Dub Nation, you need to follow this all the way to the end. It's officially trade season in the NBA, and the Warriors have jumped headfirst into it. In the last few hours, several concrete pieces of information have surfaced about real market targets, names being monitored seriously, others that have basically been ruled out, and most importantly about the one player who has become the center of all of this, Jonathan Kuminga. That's not exaggeration. It's not opinion. It's a fact. This is the week when his future starts getting decided for real. Thursday, January 15th, marks the official start of the period when Golden State can trade Jonathan Kuminga. From that point on, a short and extremely decisive window opens, because the NBA trade deadline in 2026 is February 5th at noon Pacific time. That means a little more than 3 weeks to solve a situation that has dragged on for far too long. And if Kuminga is still wearing a Warriors jersey after that date, the fan reaction is not going to be pretty. And before anyone tries to sugarcoat it, let's be direct. This team needs to make a trade. This isn't a philosophical choice. It's not a debate about patience or development. It's pure necessity. Just look at what happened in the last home game, the 124-111 loss to the Atlanta Hawks. That game exposed the problem in a way that was almost cruel. Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler basically did everything possible. Together, they scored 61 points, shooting 21 for 40 from the field, an insane 55% with a 66% true shooting percentage. That's absolute elite level. That's two superstars carrying the team on their backs. And here's the part that hurts. The rest of the roster combined for just 50 points on 21 for 50 shooting, with a 47% true shooting percentage. That's not acceptable in any competitive context. The diagnosis has been clear for months, and every game just confirms it. The Warriors don't have enough players who can put the ball on the floor, create their own shot, make plays under pressure, and still score consistently. That balance doesn't exist on this roster. And you can't keep asking a 36-year-old and a 37-year-old to step onto the court every single night with the responsibility of dropping 25 or 30 points just for the team to have a chance. That's not planning. That's desperation in disguise. That's exactly why the trade targets showing up right now aren't traditional centers, not the 7-footers some fans have been begging for years. The priority has shifted. The urgency is perimeter scoring. Someone who can take the ball and get it done. Someone who doesn't need the system to be perfect to produce. In that context, 3 names have been popping up hard as real Golden State targets: Michael Porter Jr., Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones. This isn't random speculation. These are players who fit directly into the biggest need on the current roster. The ideal scenario, of course, would be a package that brings in 2 of those names together, especially Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. But realistically, the player drawing the most interest right now is Trey Murphy because of his offensive upside. He's the type of guy who can give you 25-point nights naturally, something the Warriors simply don't have outside of Curry and Butler. Michael Porter Jr., on the other hand, is already doing it right now. He's averaging around 26 points per game this season and showing exactly what Golden State is missing: the ability to take over the offense when the stars rest or have an off night. He's the kind of player you can hand the ball to and say, "Go solve it," without fear. And it's not by accident. He's on track to be an all-star for the first time in his career. The problem is that when the conversation involves Trey Murphy, reality gets a lot tougher. The New Orleans Pelicans have made it clear to the market that they don't intend to move their main assets. Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and even key draft picks are, according to the franchise, off the table before the deadline. And that didn't come out of nowhere. The Pelicans know exactly what they have. To pull Trey Murphy out of there, the price would be high, very high. It would involve a young talent like Jonathan Kuminga, probably Moses Moody, and multiple first-round picks. People even talked about 3 first-rounders, which made several teams back away from the conversation entirely. Because of that, New Orleans basically shut the door and signaled they're not touching those pieces right now. The Warriors reportedly showed willingness to offer 2 first-round picks, but at the same time they made it clear they want to protect future assets. And this is where things start getting hard to swallow, because the message doesn't match the reality of where this team is. Golden State is in a final window, with Stephen Curry still playing at a top 5 in the league level. Jimmy Butler gives everything he has on the floor. And yet there's still major resistance to using draft picks to maximize that chance. The idea of competing on 2 timelines sounds great on paper, but in practice it has cost real championship opportunities. Even stranger is the fact that the team seems open to moving Moses Moody because he hasn't taken the leap they hoped for, while at the same time believing he holds enough value to avoid using first-round picks in a bigger deal. That logic doesn't add up. If the player hasn't delivered, his market value doesn't justify refusing to pay the real price for someone like Michael Porter Jr., and that feeds a growing sense that decisions are being held back by fear, not strategy. Fear of messing up, fear of compromising the future, fear of admitting that holding on to Kuminga for so long might have been a mistake. Meanwhile, the present keeps slipping away. Around the league, the perception is that Michael Porter Jr. will very likely be traded before February 5th. The question isn't whether he gets moved, it's where. And right now, the Warriors look less confident than they should about getting that deal done, even though he solves the biggest problem on the team. And then there's an even more delicate point. The Brooklyn Nets don't view Jonathan Kuminga as a centerpiece. That's not new. That view has been around since last summer. If there were real, strong interest, something would have moved forward back then. The fact that it didn't says a lot about how the market currently sees Kuminga's value. That doesn't mean he has no market. It means it might take a third team, or a more complex framework, to turn his exit into something truly positive for Golden State. All of this makes Jonathan Kuminga's situation stop being just a basketball decision and become a management problem. Because, like it or not, his name has become currency. And when a player reaches that point, there's rarely a clean way back. It's not a coincidence that his jerseys have disappeared from the official stores inside the Chase Center. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when the entire organization already understands a cycle is close to ending. What's changed over the last few days is that the market around Kuminga has started to move a little more. Not in the sense of insane offers or can't-miss proposals, but in the sense of more teams calling, asking questions, and exploring possibilities. Some league sources described the market as heating up, with varied interest. That phrase says a lot. Varied interest doesn't mean everyone is willing to pay big. It means some see potential, some see risk, and some just see a chance to buy low. One of the teams that popped up on that radar was the Sacramento Kings. They like Kuminga. They see him as an athlete who could fit better in a different context, with less immediate pressure to win right now. The interesting detail is that Golden State, so far, hasn't shown much excitement about anything Sacramento can offer. That creates a standoff. There's interest, but there's no deal. And that's the pattern that keeps repeating. More teams can enter the conversation, but that doesn't guarantee the return will be what the Warriors imagine or want. That's why the narrative that popped up last week, that the team could simply keep Kuminga past the deadline, was never taken seriously around the league. It was smoke, a clear attempt to inflate value, and everyone knew it. The reality is simple. Jonathan Kuminga will be traded by February 5. Almost every relevant voice-tracking NBA back channels agrees on that. The only real unknown is what Golden State gets back. Because deciding to trade someone is one thing. Winning the negotiation is something completely different. And while all of this is happening, there's another name that keeps showing up in these conversations that needs to be put in its place once and for all. Anthony Davis. As tempting as it is to imagine a scenario where he arrives healthy and dominant, reality has already cooled that illusion. A recent ligament injury in his left hand puts his availability in doubt for months, depending on further evaluations and even the possibility of surgery. That alone should end the discussion. A team fighting to stay competitive, hovering around 500. Can't gamble its immediate future on a player with a constant injury history who, right now, doesn't even have a clear timeline to return. Even acknowledging Anthony Davis's insane talent, any trade attempt right now would be far more fantasy than a concrete plan. With that off the table, the conversation goes back to where it has always been: scoring, creation, and urgency. Golden State needs to come out of this deadline with someone who can lighten the load for Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. Someone who turns average nights into wins. Someone who, when the ball is burning in their hands, doesn't hesitate. That's why Michael Porter Jr. still makes the most sense in all of this. He solves a clear, immediate, measurable problem. And that's also why the resistance to including first-round picks feels so disconnected from the team's current reality. Future picks don't hit clutch shots. They don't score in the fourth quarter. And they don't change games right now. There's an almost paralyzing fear of compromising tomorrow, even when today demands action. But the uncomfortable truth is that no franchise avoids down cycles forever. Everyone hits a rebuild at some point. The difference is how you take advantage of the rare windows when you still have a generational player performing at an elite level. Holding assets just to hold them without turning them into real impact isn't long-term vision. It's hesitation. And the NBA punishes hesitation brutally. Over the next few weeks, a lot can still change. Offers can appear, third teams can enter, values can shift. But one thing is already clear. Time is up. The clock is running, and every day without a decision only increases the pressure on the people making these calls. The fans see it, the league sees it, and the players feel it inside the locker room. Nobody steps onto the floor completely unaware that trades are coming. It affects confidence, chemistry, and even performance. That's why resolving it quickly isn't just a market issue. It's an environment issue. So now the question isn't whether Golden State will make a trade. It's for who. Who's going to arrive and change this situation? Who's going to be the name that, a few months from now, we look back on and say, made the difference? Or in the worst-case scenario, who's going to symbolize yet another missed opportunity? If you've got a prediction, a name you believe will be wearing that jersey before the deadline, drop it in the comments. And if you want to keep getting every last-minute update, every move, every confirmed rumor, every decision that reshapes this team's future, leave a like right now, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this story is far from over, and the next few days are going to be decisive. Kai Sotto has been drawing attention for his talent and the potential to become a dominant center in the league. Standing at 7'3", he's not only a rim protector but also a player who has greatly improved offensively. The question is, would he fit into the Warriors system? We know that adapting to the NBA is not easy, especially for a player coming from an international background. But Kai has already shown that he faces challenges head-on. Since beginning his professional basketball career, he has displayed an impressive learning curve and a growth mindset that could make all the difference. The Warriors always prioritize versatile players who know how to move well without the ball and contribute on both ends of the court. And that's where Kai Sotto could shine. He's not just a traditional center who protects the paint, but also a mobile and intelligent player capable of helping with offensive plays. The big question now is, who will give Kai Sotto this chance? The Warriors could benefit from a young and promising center, but other teams may also be eyeing him. What's certain is that he has all the potential to grow in the NBA, as long as he gets the right opportunity. Kai Sotto's future is promising, but he still needs to find the team and system that best suit his style. If the Warriors decide to give him a chance, it could not only strengthen the roster, but also bring a new dynamic to Golden State's front court. After all, with the Warriors' winning mentality, the sky is the limit for any young talent. So, did you like the video? Don't waste any time and hit the like button because it helps a lot with spreading the word. If you have anything to add or want to share your opinion, leave a comment. We love hearing what you think. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates about our team. See you next time, everyone. Let's go together towards another great season.